Howdy, folks. High value DMD. Don't just give me your subscription, but please let me earn it. Let me earn your like and let me earn your comment. This video is called Remember Omaha Beach. If you don't know who I am, I'll be graduating as a dentist here in just a couple of months. And on this channel, I like to talk about things such as dating, relationships, career development, what it's like to be a young professional in their 20s, such as me. And this is a little bit of a different video. Remember Omaha Beach. If you're not familiar with this particular point in history, you ought to be. Let me ask you this. How many times have you been stressed out? How many times in your life have you faced something that you think is beyond your control? It's too much. You just can't handle it. How many times have you had an anxiety attack? How many times have you broken down from grief or passed out? I'm just asking questions. There are times in our life where we think that there are things that are just so unbearable that we can't go on. Maybe we can't keep running that extra distance. Maybe we think we can't continue to study that extra hour. Maybe we just don't think we have enough left in the tank. I'm going to share my screen. In World War II, when the United States decided to get involved in the European theater, it was decided that the only route to gain a foothold in Europe would be to land in France. I'm not a historian. I can't tell you all of the decisions behind this. There was a couple of different areas of beach of coastline they were looking at landing on, but it seemed I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, this stretch of beach, the beaches of Normandy, were the most ideal tactically. And the United States ships, they absolutely turned this coastline into glass in preparation for this invasion. And they bombed and bombed and bombed, and people thought that, well, there's no way anything could have survived, right? As they got closer, they saw bunkers on the beach where the Germans were staying. I don't have a photo of this exactly. Let's zoom in on this photo. Imagine what these people felt. What about this? So you're in this little boat, you're heading towards bunkers that you know are occupied with Germans, and you have this front metal shield. As soon as you hit the sand, it's going to drop, and you have to run forward. In the Marine Corps, Marines are not taught to run away or backwards from gunfire. They're taught to run towards gunfire. And if I remember some statistic correctly, I believe odds are you have a greater chance of survival if you run into gunfire. Of course, these gentlemen had no place to go. And yes, gentlemen, there was no women, there was no pansy nonsense back then. Okay? Some of these were probably 15-year-old guys that lied about their age to get to go. So there's nowhere to go. You run forward. You run forward onto the beach, and on the beach there were some of these turrets, right? These metal spike things. That's all you had for cover. Maybe you could find a hole that was blown up into the sand that a mortar blew up, and maybe you could hide in there to get out of the cover. Omaha Beach was the roughest landing of them all. Not to say that the Canadians or the English didn't suffer casualties, but Omaha Beach was known to be the worst. So think about this. Think about when you have been so anxious and you've been scared and you thought that there wasn't any way to get around something. Think about how these men felt. Suddenly, any problems that you have experienced should feel quite small. They should feel quite insignificant, actually. These men, as soon as this metal dropped, they were to run forward and hope they live. Most likely, especially the first wave, was expecting to die. There's not really anywhere to go. As soon as that metal shield dropped, German gunfire would open up on these people and they would die. They were going to their certain deaths, essentially a suicide mission. They had probably written letters to their girlfriends, to their mothers and their fathers before they went out on the boat, and they were just getting ready. I I need to read it more into this, but you can imagine they're probably puking. They probably have diarrhea from anxiety. They're probably sweating profusely. Just imagine the anxiety that they felt. This type of anxiety is justified. This type of PTSD is founded. And yet, so many young people and people of all ages are on SSRIs, SNRIs, mood stabilizing medications. For what? For what? Honestly, why? Why are we so stressed out as a nation? Why are we worrying so much? What has gotten into us? Let me ask you that. Our problems are absolute minutia in comparison to what these people have seen. And I won't discount that some people do have mental health issues. But it seems as if that wasn't as prevalent back in the day. I don't know. I never heard my grandfather talk about mental health issues. You dealt with it the best way you could. You dealt with it. You filled your mind with work. You went to church and you got through it. You didn't lay down and cry. You got up and got through it. These young men didn't lay in their bunk to try to skip out. They got up and did what they had to do to win this war. Something to think about, folks. I hope I earned your subscription. I hope I earned your like, and I hope I earned your comment. Let me know what you think below. As always.